Thousands of years ago, only predators ruled the world. There was only blood and fear. But over time, the animals overcame all this, starting to live in a free city called Zootropolis. Tigers didn't have to go hunting, sheep didn't have to huddle with flocks. That's how the children's theater play went, where Judy Hopps, a rabbit in a costume, said that she dreams of becoming a police officer. The parents tried to convince their daughter that this was a bad idea, because none of the rabbits had been cops before, but Judy was determined to be the first to do so. Foxy Gideon Gray bullied Judy. While the girl was walking with her parents in the market, she saw the same Gideon mocking the sheep, trying to take tickets from the toy machines. Jude asked him to return what he had taken. Gray just started saying how the hell did she decide she could be a cop. The boy pushed her, but the girl was not lost and hit him. However, Gideon, after hissing about how the play said about predators, scratched Judy's cheek with his claws and walked away. Those sheep immediately ran to her, asking how she was. Hopps just handed them the tickets. 15 years later, Judy entered the police academy, trying to become as good as possible. They were taught how to work in different areas, including the desert, jungle. She didn't succeed, as is often the case in the beginning, but she worked harder and eventually became the best in her course and an elder. Here is the issue. Judy is the first bunny police officer. She was awarded by the mayor of the city and his assistant Dunya. Hopps' parents were very worried about letting their daughter go to such a big city, so Dad handed her a can of bald repellent. The girl got on the train, occupied her city and turned on the singer Gazelle, known throughout Zootropolis, in the player. During her journey, she saw a variety of landscapes, ranging from jungles to deserts. Finally, she arrived at Zootropolis, where everyone lived in harmony. Judy rented a room where her neighbors were goats, who were constantly quarreling with each other. The next day started early, because it is the first working day. Hopps came to the police station, where Benjamin the leopard was standing at the reception desk, constantly eating sweets. Judy came to the audience, into which her boss Grimallo immediately entered. He began to tell about the fact that 14 cases of disappearance of mammals have already been recorded. All predators from a polar bear to a small otter. Everyone was given a task to search, however, Chief Grimallo ordered her to simply write out fines in the parking lot. With her excellent rabbit hearing, she noticed every sound as the time ran out. By lunchtime, she had written out more than 200 receipts. Suddenly she noticed a rather suspicious-looking bald man sneaking into the elephant ice cream shop. Hopps thought that something was wrong and was already preparing to apply the bald repellent. They tried to drive the bald man away, but next to him was a little child in an elephant costume and he asked to be given ice cream for him because he loves it very much. Judy, feeling a great injustice, asked the seller if the customers knew that ice cream was added to ice cream because scooping ice cream with an uncovered trunk is a third-level violation of sanitary standards. She offered to limit themselves to just a warning and that they would be made ice cream. The elephant agreed, but the fox had no money and he, having told the child that the birthday was a failure, went away. Hopps paid for the ice cream to please the little one. The fox introduced himself as Nick Tails. Judy was still handing out fines, but then she saw the kid in the elephant costume and Nick, who were melting ice cream on the roof of the house into jars, which were then loaded into the car. Hopps also noticed that there was a kid behind the wheel. She followed them and they went to a snowy region where they used the elephant suit's paw prints to make a new ice cream and then arrived back at Zootropolis where they sold the sweet paws ice cream to the hamsters and the sticks were taken from the dumpsters and brought back as building materials for rats. Everywhere they made a considerable profit. Hopps walked over to Nick, starting to sort herself out. She wanted to arrest him, but he had permits. They had an argument, where Quicktail only said that he would always be a cunning fox and she would always be a dumb rabbit. The girl did not agree, then he replied that if she is not a dumb rabbit, then there is no fresh cement under her feet. Judy didn't notice and actually hit the cement. Hopps returned home, turned on sad music, wanted to eat, but the carrots were spoiled. Her parents called her and she lied to them that everything was as she dreamed. When Mom and Dad noticed the policeman's vest on her, they were happy because they were very worried that she would become a real cop and would constantly face danger. The goats began to scream through the wall, because there was almost no soundproofing. The next day, she fulfilled her obligations, issuing fines and facing negativity from people because nobody liked fines. Tired from work, Judy got into her car when the store owner approached her, saying that he had been robbed. Hopps immediately ran after the thief. A chase began in the city of mice. At one point, the thief threw the statue of a donut, almost killing the mouse, but the officer saved her, also noticing that she had a great hairstyle. Jude arrested the criminal. Chief Grimallo reprimanded her for creating a danger to rodents. At that time, Ms. Vidreska, whose husband was one of the 14 missing mammals, applied to the chief. The woman went to the office, despite the prohibitions, and begged Mr. Grimal to do something because 10 days had already passed since the disappearance of Casimir Vidreski. The chief only replied that the investigators were overwhelmed, but Judy replied that she would find Mr. Vidreski. Grimallo said that Hopps was fired, but when he opened the door, he saw Deputy Mayor Dunya already starting to spread the news that the first bunny officer was finally on the job. The chef ate for 48 hours. If she fails, she resigns. There were almost no case materials, only one sheet of paper. She saw sweet paused ice cream in the photo. Judy tracked down Nick to find out more about the case. But he refused and she blocked his cart, saying that he had been arrested for tax evasion, which was true. And when Quicktail said she couldn't prove it, she used her carrot-shaped pen, which was also a voice recorder, to play a recording where he said how much money he made and paid nothing. They went together to look for leads, and it led them to naturists. They found the number of the car and it was worth punching it in the base. They came to Nick's acquaintance, but they were all lazy. His friend's name was Shmyg. The car is registered in Tundra Town, a snowy region. Nick and Judy got there and made their way to the car. They found a bare fur, and then on the back seats they saw traces of claws and Casimir Vidreski's identity card. Nick realized that this car was the property of Tundra Town crime boss Mr. Velith. They were caught by polar bears and brought to Mr. Valet. He was an old little rodent who didn't like Nick because he once sold him a rug made of fur from under a skunk's butt. The giant was going to freeze Judy and Quicktail, but the daughter of the crime boss recognized Hopps because she was the one who saved her from the ferret, who was a thief. It was for this that Mr. Valet agreed to help Judy and even allowed them to stay at the wedding. He told about the fact that Mr. Vidreski was his family's florist and had almost become his family. Casimir wanted to discuss something, so a car was sent to pick him up, but it did not come. It was Vidreski who attacked, not him. He went crazy, tore the car and almost bit the driver of Valet. Nick and Judy went to the driver Leo Pardas, who lived on a tropical massif. Leo said that Vidreski was mad and kept shouting about night sirens. Pardas agreed to open the door and talk, but at the same moment, they saw that he was also mad and only wanted to kill them. A fight and at the same time a chase began. Grimallo arrived and began to tell Judy to give the badge, but Nick stood up for her, saying that formally they still had 10 hours to find Casimir, so they just left together. The girl thanked him for everything he had done, and Quicktail in turn told about how, when he was little, he wanted to join the Forest Scouts. He thought that he would be accepted, but the children only put a muzzle on him because he is a fox. And then they suddenly realized that there were video surveillance cameras all over the city and they were supposed to record exactly where Vidreski went. But Hopps also did not have access to the database. The deputy mayor did, so they turned to her and with her help they found records of where Arctic wolves traveled. Nick was smart enough to find a secret tunnel on the cameras. Judy said it would make a good cop. They reached that place and, tricking with a howl, made their way inside what they thought was a former hospital. They saw a center of some kind of research with new equipment, as well as cages with animals that had become wild. There were 14 of them. These are all those who disappeared. They saw the mayor talking about finding a solution and why everyone was going crazy. Alarm began, because they noticed that someone was there. Judy Hopps reported everything to Chief Grimal. The mayor was arrested, but he pleaded not guilty. Hopps offered Nick to become her partner after graduating from the police academy and gave him the carrot pen with which she used to blackmail him. She gave a comment to journalists, telling the facts of the investigation, that the attackers and victims were exclusively predators, that this is their biology. Nick only said that Judy was sure about the biology of predators, so Quicktail himself must be going wild by her logic, and then finally asked her why she wore a bulb repeller on her belt if she wasn't afraid of him, and then just did a sharp movement and the officer immediately reached for the bulb repeller. Nick was disappointed in her and left. Benjamin was transferred to the archives because he was a predator. Dunya Vivcienko became the new mayor. Hopps took off her cop badge, saying she failed her mission. She returned to her parents to sell fruits and vegetables. Gideon Gray, who was a baker, arrived. And he apologized to Judy for abusing her as a child. And then Hopps saw flowers called night sirens. If you eat such a flower, you can go crazy. And then Hopps realized everything. She grabbed the keys and went to Zootropolis to find Nick and tell him everything. But he made her confess that she was a stupid, worthless rabbit and recorded it on a carrot tape recorder, and then they laughed about it together. He forgave her. Seeking help from the giant, they extracted a confession from Duke Thief, the ferret who stole the bulbs of the night sirens. They made their way to the subway car, where they grew those flowers, and then made balls. The next victim was to be a cheetah. They went further in this wagon. Dunya Vivcienko, who was behind all this, is in the historical museum. Dunya fired, but it was actually a blueberry, not a bullet from a night siren. But in fact it was a performance, and with the help of a pen carrot recorder, they recorded a heartfelt confession. Dunya was arrested. Infected animals were cured. Nick graduated from the police academy and became Judy's partner. Write in the comments if you liked the story about this cartoon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to watch even more interesting cartoons with me. See you soon.